We want to get into the segment, guys?
Yeah, I'm ready. So what let's remind our listeners, what's the segment again?
So the segment is whatever happened to those guys and gals. Whatever happened to those guys. We've each come up with a couple of bands that maybe put a couple albums out that were awesome, that we loved, and either disappeared or, maybe the group changed, or it just didn't have the same dynamic after that, or just they put out one or two and that was it. We just never heard from them again. So it's not a negative connotation. It's more, why didn't we get more out of this band or this group? We had a couple put together for you. I think I got two. You guys probably have two each for sure.
I got a couple.
Mm-hmm. And it's it was an interesting text exchange when we were talking about what do we want to do this week. This was a cool, like, I came up with probably 7 or 8 right off the bat, and then I narrowed it down to a couple. I was like, these two will be fun to talk about. So with that being said, who wants to lead us off?
And one caveat, and I think this is given if you've listened to us, we didn't tell each other what we were picking, so we're reacting to the other person in real time. So hopefully we didn't overlap. We might have, and if we did, we got backups.
We've done it before. It's worked. All right. I guess I'll do. I can jump into my other one that I had researched. Yeah. So this band, this might come as a surprise, having listened to us a little bit. I know you guys will be on board, but it's definitely different than a lot of what we've talked about to this point. But
can I guess?
This band formed. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it Duncan Sheik?
No. Good one. No.
Is it
Saliva? It's Saliva.
It's Flagpole Sitta. What's his name?
That's a song.
No,
the
I know.
Band was Harvey Danger.
Harvey Danger.
Harvey
yeah.
Danger.
It's Harvey Danger.
It's not Harvey Danger. No, these are good guesses though. I'll give you another guess.
I just want you to add Duncan Sheik to the playlist. That's why I said it.
Okay, perfect. Barely Breathing.
Great
song.
Has to be.
Great song.
Song's badass.
Yeah, perfect. Good tangent, Nate. I fucking love it.
Hell yeah.
Do you guys have any other guesses? Will we give you a hint?
Okay. So you said it's a little off the beaten path.
It's newer.
Maybe.
It's not off the beaten path. It's actually very, very commercially friendly. It's just not. It's off our beaten path.
That's what I mean. Off our beaten path. You are definitely talking about Adele.
Yes, you're right. Whatever happened to Adele? She got skinny. She looks great now. Good for her. Don't fat shame. Don't skinny shame people. That's stupid. Yeah. She looks great. Good for her. No, it's not Adele. It's a good guess though. Nate, we saw these guys. Twan, you might have been there in 2012 in Portland, the State Theater. No, but that's a good one.
Okay.
It was Halloween in 2012. We saw these guys, Nate.
Fun?
It was fun. Yeah,
it's
fun.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
I was there.
Yep. You were there too. Yeah. So that great show. They dressed as friends.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it was Halloween, and Nate Roos came out dressed as like Monica or something. It was ridiculous. But he hit all the notes in person too. So I got to give him credit there. That was an epic show. It was much better than I anticipated it being. So, but yeah, they formed in 2008. They're a trio. Jack Antonoff and Andrew. I'm going to draw a blank on his name. I wrote it down, but I can't find it. And Nate Roos, who's the lead singer. And they put out an album called Aim and Ignite, which was more kind of indie, didn't really have the airplay and the impact that Some Nights had. And then Some Nights came out, and Some Nights was massive. Everybody heard Some Nights, the song. Everybody heard We Are Young. They were just, hit after hit from that album. And that's what we saw them on tour for. They all kind of split up after that, and it really didn't make a ton of sense. Nate Roos put out an album on his own, and it didn't do well. I think it sold 30,000 copies wise, and it was just a fun record without the guys, which doesn't make sense when you've got a great songwriter and musician as Jack Antonoff is, because he's done a bunch of other stuff for other artists, including Taylor Swift and Lorde, Pink. He's written songs for those huge acts, pop acts. And then Bleachers, he's done himself too, and those two albums aren't bad. The first one's really good, I think, and the second one's not bad. So why kick to the curb somebody who's as talented as Jack is? I don't understand. To put out the same type of album that's just not going to be as good musically, I never understood that. But that's kind of how that happened. They were kind of a gigantic flash in the pan, like just this massive, massive second album that was heard everywhere, and then poof, gone, never heard from again as far as the band goes. Now the people in the band have done some stuff, but the band Fun, which was probably the biggest band in the world in the mid 2014, 2013, probably the biggest band in the world. And to just kind of say, we're done. We don't like each other that much, or who knows what it was, but we didn't get a follow up to Some Nights, which was obviously not good. It would have been great to hear another record from them. What do you guys think?
No, I think what you just said, biggest band, they were definitely one of them because Nate was featured on Eminem's album, Marshall Mathers LP 2. It was that last track where I think he apologizes to his mom. Nate is the chorus. He does the hook.
Yep.
And then my other memory of Nate is actually it was before Fun. He was in a band called The Format. Do you guys remember those guys?
Yes. I remember hearing about them. I didn't listen to them, but I remember that.
It was pretty good. They had, what was it? Something in Interventions and Lullabies. I saw them at Skate Fest at the Worcester Palladium in 03 or 04. And you could tell he was bigger than that. And not in like a cocky way, but like you could tell he was super talented. He wasn't just like a punk band, or I mean they weren't a punk band, but an indie band. They were bigger than that. But Fun. Was it just one album?
2, the Aim and Ignite, which came out before, which was a little not as poppy, not as trying to be mainstream as Some Nights were, and then Some Nights. And that was it. Yeah, Aim and Ignite came out in 2009, and Some Nights came out in 2012. So yeah, that came out February of 2012, and we saw him in October of 2012 for that album. And it was everywhere. You couldn't get away from We Are Young when it came out, to the point where I was like, I didn't want to hear it anymore because it's all you ever heard. That and Some Nights were always on the radio. And then time passed, I didn't hear them as much, and I would find myself going back to it. My fiance was a big fan of it, so we listened to it on long drives and stuff like that, and I was like, this is actually a really good album. So I had a different approach to it compared to how some people digest pop music. We probably are a little different with that. Like, okay, I've heard that song enough, I don't need to hear it again for a while. But they were all still really good, and I would put them on today. Like it's still really good.
Yeah, that's good, man. I wonder when we were doing a little digging on where they're at now and so forth, I wonder if the singer Nate had maybe some kind of record label pressure. I don't know if you've seen the movie A Star Is Born, where the record label or industry professionals are like, you know what, you're the star of this show. Like you should go solo.
I could totally see that.
Yeah. Where that kind of changed the dynamic in the band. They're like, oh, you're screwing us to, instead of making a sophomore album, you're going solo. He's like, yeah, man, I got pitched on this. Another good example is the Elton John movie, Rocket Man, happens in that movie too, where the Queen movie, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yep.
And the record label pursues him. They're like, hey, you really should make a solo record. Like, you're the star of this band. Screw the other guys, make a solo record. So I wonder if that happened with this, and it pissed him off, and the band broke up. And if he tried to reunite them, they're like, no, man, you went solo. Like, we had a good thing going. That's just me thinking out loud mainly, but I know that
makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the more unique vocalists that of the last 20 years or so, I would say, right? I mean, he's just got that, and he can do it live. I was skeptical going into that show. I was like, I'm not sure he's going to be able to hit all those notes. Like that's all a product of the studio and all that. Nope. Yeah. He can do it live. It sound, unless I was totally duped that night. It sounded on point. So maybe he was getting people in his ear saying, it's you, like you're the reason this is huge. And it's too bad when that happens, because it happens all the time. Yeah. But sometimes the collective is better than the pieces sold off for whatever. So that will never happen here at the Podioslave Podcast, guys. We are going to stay together for the kids.
Yeah. Yeah, we're the Motley Crew. We help each other out.
That's a good pull. I wouldn't have thought of them, but they check every box of like any angle you could take with this segment. It was actually cool. We saw them in a small venue because they were massive. I mean, we saw them like a 1,500 cap.
1,500 cap, and it was it was Halloween. I think it sold out. If it wasn't sold out, it was damn near close. But I bet it was sold out.
It was sold out.
And they they just put on a show. I mean, it was from the jump. They come out dressed as the characters from Friends, and they play the Rembrandt's "I'll Be There for You" just to jump into it. And I was like, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna enjoy this. And it was. Other than that drunk asshole in front of us we almost got in a fight with, it was a good time.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, our buddy Phil almost killed that guy.
Yeah, that was weird. That was like mind games going on. He would like bump into us like nonstop, and then like we started bumping into him, and he took it personal. It's like, well, you were bumping into me the whole show,
and we're at
I
a
don't even
concert.
really care.
Yeah, we're like up near the stage, pretty close. Like, there's a lot of people in that spot. Just stop. Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, that was fun. Literally and figuratively, that was fun. You guys
That's
got any more on that?
No, good poll. I feel like they had another album in them though.
At least one.
Totally.
My thought is maybe you had a bunch of things at work here. Jack's maybe writing a bunch of music for other people and himself. Nate's gonna do his solo thing and says, I want to do my own thing. People are telling me that I'm it, yeah. And maybe they were, how do you follow that up? It was so big. It was they put those things in a blender. I could totally see why maybe they no longer are a band, but it's just too bad. Like, come back now. Like, put something out now. The hype has died down. I mean, you're doing your other things. You have things to go back to if need be. Why not? It'd be cool to get another album.
Well, it makes sense if the first album was a success, the second one busts, and then it makes sense. But it was the reverse. The
first one was nothing.
First one was nothing. The second one was massive, and then it's done. Like, most bands don't leave on a high note. They fade out,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right.
Did you want to do another one, Tone, to make up for the Shooty's Groove, or?
Yes.
I could. It wouldn't be super researched, which is not. I'm not super.
Hey, let's spitball it. We can collectively.
I can spitball one for you. Hard-Fi.
Nice.
What happened to Hard-Fi? You ever listen to Stars of CCTV, which came out? I'm now gonna have to look it up. But it came out. The anniversary is this year, this July 4th. I want to say it's like 18.
That's
I just looked this up recently because I love that album and listened to it again. But Stars of CCTV.
I got a confession.
15 years.
I don't know if I know this band.
Ooh.
Cash Machine. Good. Because go back and listen to it. And Nate, this will be a reason for us to put Cash Machine on the playlist.
Yes. Sweet.
And you saw them, Nate, right?
Yep. Also at the Axis in Boston.
Yeah. This album came out 15 years ago on July 4th. And I think it's a front to back. I don't think there's a bad song on it.
Totally is.
It's a great, maybe they're kind of a popular Block Party. Maybe does that sound right, Nate? You could probably
Block Party's pretty popish, but
yeah, but Block Party's kind of got a little bit of that, and it's not so much radio friendly compared to what Hard-Fi was.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Hard-Fi was a little more radio friendly.
Hard-Fi's got like the European like Oasis thing going on a little bit.
Yeah. And they put this album out and had a couple of tracks on it that were singles. Cash Machine, which is the big one, and that song is just awesome.
Yeah, that song's badass.
And then was Hard to Beat. Was that on the radio? I think it might have been.
It's a great song.
Hard to Beat's great. Tied Up Too Tight's great. The title track, the last song on the album, Stars with CCTV, is awesome. Move On Now is awesome. It's a front to back record. Twine. Go back and check it out because you'll like it. I think I just don't understand. This was fairly big, I thought, and they put out another album not long after.
And what year was this again?
05.
So the
Summer
name,
of 05.
I feel like I maybe know the name, but I wouldn't know the sound at all. No.
Yeah, Tied Up Too Tight was a single, and then Hard to Beat was a single.
Tone, this is a good example of a band that was from Europe that would play the States and play places like the Axis where I saw them in Boston, small cap. And they'd go to Europe and be like co-headlining or like headlining like major festivals in Europe. So polar opposite of like
it sold 1.2 million copies worldwide.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean it was on. It came out on Atlantic, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they were set to be fairly big, and then they put out an album in 2000. Oh boy, I gotta find it now. A couple of years later that I've never listened to and need to give it a whirl. But then they kind of just disappeared. Like that was the end of them, unfortunately. So I don't understand it. I'm not sure why they didn't put more out, because that first album I listened to it the other day and it's still really good. Like it wasn't a time and place thing. It holds up. I like it a lot. Very kind of pop rocky, but different.
Nice. I haven't heard that album since then actually, so I'm going to check that out again.
Yeah, peep it. It's a great record.
But it does beg the question of, well, what happened?
Yeah.
If they were co-headlining festivals, like it all points to like either personal issues or interband dynamics or creative differences. I mean, those are the major things that come to my mind.
Yeah, I just, there must have been, or the second album bombed and that was the end of it. Like maybe they had a 2-album run and that was the only thing that was going to go for them. So yeah, they looks like they formed in 97, put out some stuff. Obviously that wasn't here. It was where they were from in, I think, England. And then 05 they hit with Stars of CCTV, and then they put out Once Upon a Time in the West in 07, and an album in 08 called Killer Sounds, and that was that. They were done. Greatest hits album in hiatus, and they've been on hiatus since 2014. Very weird.
I mean, 6 years they're probably done.
Yeah.
Probably
yeah, people that say Fun is still on hiatus, and it's been 6 years too. So Blink 182, the real Blink 182 is still on hiatus.
Tom, if you're listening,
album that big, with an album that big for a debut, though, they can always rely on the anniversary, 20 year or 10 year, whatever it is.
So 2025, clear your calendars
for Hardfire. Yeah,
I'd go see him. They'd be in a small venue, but I'd go see him.
Yeah, if the small venues are still around.
That's true. Well, the venue will be around. It might just have new ownership.
That's true.
Nate, it'll be in your basement in Encinitas.
Oh, speaking of basements.